I am a lifelong love addict. I've just about gotten my PhD in codependency. And I want to share with you what I learned to finally get through that decades program. Like perhaps some of you, I've used love and taken advantage of love and tried to understand love and expected love that would solve all of my problems. And I thought if I got to be a good enough lover, then I could change all those people in my life who weren't quite living up to my expectations and perhaps change the world. Any of you tried to do any of those things? I grew up brainwashed by the music of John Lennon. All you need is love, love. All you need is love. Anybody heard that song before?
Yeah.
It's running in the back, and you know what? I think it's a big lie. So that's basically the premise of my talk here. But there's something better, is what we're going to get to. So what I'd like to do is just back up a little bit. And the way that I like to play with consciousness is really paying attention to words and language. Words carry so much power and so much energy and so much stuff that is taking place in the back of the brain, and we don't really pay attention to it very often. And if we just take this goofy word love, for starters, there are over 15 definitions in the dictionary. Some of them have to do with sex, as in lovemaking. Some of them have to do with appreciation, as in I love what you did for me this afternoon, or I love the quesadilla that I had for dinner before I got down here today. And so to that monkey mind that is always with us in chattering away and trying to figure everything out so we'll be safe, that little person is constantly trying to figure out when, in my case, she hears me use the word love or someone else use the word love, she's going, what do you mean? Which love is it? Which one should I pull up here? Which one am I supposed to be managing? Which kind of love is it? And, you know, it can be very confusing when a woman says, I love you to a man. A lot of men interpret that as meaning I want to have sex with them. Men are wired that way. That's good news, right? That was my comedy line. You can see I'm not but you all know so it gets confusing. Which love are we talking about? And that confusion takes a tremendous amount of energy. And then when we apply that type of love, like many people here on Maui, we care so much about the world, and we have values of wanting peace and wanting harmony. And we've tried to make love fix that for us, take care of that for us. And I think we need to give love a break. I think that, you know, love is this random, unpredictable, amazing, magical thing that no one can really define. Two people can talk about it, and we may have very different ideas in our heads and in our hearts about what we're actually talking about. And most of all, it isn't something that we can call up on demand 24/7 like an Uber car. It comes when it wants to come. And so to continue maintaining this belief system that all we need is love, and if we could only learn how to love better and love more, that the world would change or our relationships would change, I think that's a fallacy, and I think that that's making life hard on us, and we're too good of people, and we're too loving of people to really have that kind of struggle going on. So what that does is it puts us in this loop of shouldification, as I call it. You should be doing this different, you should be doing this better, you should never get angry, you should love all these terrible things that are going on, because that's the way it's going to get healed. But I don't believe that that's true. So in my PhD of codependency studies, I realized I could change one word and make an enormous difference. And so instead of trying to love, I now choose to accept. Instead of trying to reach for this passionate, undefinable, slippery, amazing thing that I can sometimes find and many times not, I can always consciously choose to accept. And I hypothesize and propose to you that looking another person in the eye and saying, I accept you, is perhaps one of the most loving things that we can do, because it means I don't need you to change for me. I don't need you to be any different than you are. And that comes from this very confident premise that we're all part of the divine and everyone has a right to be here, even the drunks and the ISIS and everyone else. They all have their right to be here as well as us. And if I focus on accepting what is, then suddenly I'm grounded, I'm neutral, I'm clear, I see a path forward, and the other person, if it's a one-to-one situation, that person gets to drop their defenses. Because when you feel judged, what do you tend to do? Get defensive. And Byron Katie, she brilliantly observed that defensiveness is the first act of war. And we can't have a loving community if we're judging and then other people are getting defensive, and then it's this loop of shouldfication and shittification in many cases once it really gets going. So I'm making the case, and we can talk about it here today. One of the questions I posed is, what does love have to do with changing the world, and what would actually happen if we started accepting things as they are? During the tsunami a couple of years ago, I was on Twitter a lot, and a lot of people from the mainland were getting nervous because CNN was playing their high drama music, and everyone was nervous and scared, and we all shared this thought, hashtag think calm thoughts. And Shane, my partner, was actually asleep on the sofa next to me with our dog, Lexi, and people were saying, how can he sleep through a tsunami? And I said, it's great that he's sleeping because he's bringing calm energy. We don't all have to be up 24/7 monitoring all the terrible things that are going on in the world or in our own relationships. We can accept them and carry on. So let me see if I missed anything too much here. I think I pretty much covered it. I just want to thank John Lennon for his beautiful music and his amazing heart, and let him know that we're taking things a little bit further now. We're taking the pressure off love, and we're raising our consciousness. Thank you so much. Yay.